So if you ever get the opportunity to volunteer or to take a role in a networking group, definitely take the role. Certainly my experience has been that it will position you, as an expert in it, and you'll start to get sort of referrals, and it will generate leads, on it, almost on its own, almost on autopilot. This is the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast for entrepreneurs and business owners looking for cool online tools, apps and strategies to make business easy online. My name is Nik Cree and I'm your host. Each episode features a guest expert demystifying the online universe, sharing inspirational ideas and providing tested real-world strategies to help you get the most of what's available online to grow your business today. Don't be a slave to your business, get your business working for you. Subscribe now and get some great content and ideas for you and your business today. All right, well, let's move into our main topic for tonight. So tonight's topic is 27 organic, which is free lead generation strategies absolutely work in this new world, even if you're starting from scratch. So, and really the purpose for doing this tonight is that it's a constant thing that people often ask for is how do I generate new leads? So before we kick off, anyone here sort of, looking for sort of ways of generating new leads or things that they've tried that have either worked successfully or maybe they sort of struggle with, haven't worked quite so well at all. So who here is so willing to share a bit about what they've been doing with their lead generation and maybe need a bit of help with? Annie?
So recently I've started advertising webinars and doing animal hot seats where I've had parents come along with their animals and they've all had a chance on Zoom to be a Zoom star and ask them a question and give the answers to the parents, and also talk about common behaviour problems that parents might experience. So doing that's exposed me to a bigger audience. So I've tried using Eventbrite and advertising overseas as well. But it's getting enough people to come along at the right time zone that seems to be one of the tricky problems at the moment. People get confused and think it's their time zone and not ours. And I understand that usually you get like 20 to 30% of registrants turning up at an event. So you really need to have a lot of people registering to make sure you've got enough to then convert a percentage into leads.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, and that sometimes people do register. I'm sure no one's ever done it here on this show here, but registered for something for free and never shown up. So people get busy, they do that, and sometimes they keep their options open by registering, and if they're available at the time, they'll turn up. So one good way to stop that is to start charging people. So even if it's a nominal amount, but just recognizing if you do charge people, you get to probably lower number of registrations, but you'll get a higher number of people showing up. So it's really just an equation that you would test and see whether, it or what sort of difference that it made. Obviously, when people pay too, they're generally more highly motivated and more highly qualified. In that, if anyone's, even if it's only $5 or $10, they're generally, if they're paying for something, they're looking for a solution. And I can tell you that I went to a meetup. Where was I on the Gold Coast? It was a physical meetup. I paid $5 for it, so it was this massive entry fee. And I just wasn't feeling like I wanted to go out, and but I thought, I paid for this, I might as well go. And it, as ridiculous as it sounds, it was $5, but that $5 was enough to make me go. So there's a bit of psychology behind having people pay money for it. All right, anyone else got any experience with their lead generation or any questions around it?
As you know, I do a lot of mine via LinkedIn, so my lead generation is via connecting. But more than connecting, it's about nurturing and not selling. So it's about nurturing, forming a relationship. I think relationships are very important, and that generates the leads down the line.
Excellent. Yes, you've got a good process as well too on LinkedIn with what you're doing as well. And you're absolutely right. It is about nurturing. So with that, actually, can you see my screen at the moment?
Just you.
Oh, just me. Okay. That's a bit interesting. Actually, this is a bit meta because I'm actually screen sharing and I'm screen sharing myself rather than it just being on the video. So there you go. All right. So Con's just really touched on something that's really important with your lead generation. Like in the old days, it was good enough to have like a subscribe to my newsletter on your website. So if you've got that there, they just don't work anymore. So it's pointless having subscribe to my newsletter. Well, if that's the best, if that's all that you've got, it's probably better than nothing. But a subscribe to my newsletter is not really a lead generator these days. And, you know, because if you ask yourself, how many people here are looking to subscribe to more newsletters or want more newsletters in their inbox? Probably not many of us. For a very specific topic, yes. But for some more general sort of things or sort of a broader sort of niche, then newsletters are not really where it's at. So I want to talk to you about 27 ideas. I'm going to rattle them off quite quickly. This is going to be more workshop style. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to get into some of the ins and outs of how to implement some of these and the nuances in it. But the idea behind it is that it gives you sort of some ideas that you may pick up, one or two or three of them, and run with that particular idea, or it may enhance what you're already doing. Most of these are all based around building relationships, and lead generation is contrary to what people sometimes say or think. It's not a short-term thing where you can just throw something out and generate leads, although you can do that. It is more of a long-term consistent strategy that you implement as part of your business process and part of your business plan, which you consistently run out over a period of time, well, over the entire sort of time of your business. And if there's one word that encapsulates it, it's about consistency. So lead generation is not about just doing something once and hoping for the best. It really is about consistency, doing something over and over again, and improving it and refining it. So let's have a look at this. All right. So the first one that I've got for you is, and some of these are going to seem quite obvious, some of these are not. So first one's create a Facebook group. So I've got a Facebook group. Anyone know the name of my Facebook group is? It is Business Owners Smashing It Online. So that's a Facebook group that I've got. Now, how is that a lead generating exercise? Well, Facebook groups require a bit of energy and effort. If you are the creator of a Facebook group, you're the face of the group, you're the moderator, and you need to be active in your group as well too. So and really what you're doing is you're establishing a tribe of people who are interested in what you do and what you offer. And it's a way of people to be able to ask questions, to connect, and try and get a community going where they are able to so communicate with each other, ask questions and create posts as well too. One of the things with Facebook groups is you do need to be careful they don't get hijacked. So it is important to have some rules around it as well in terms of what people can post and what's acceptable. You may or may not want people to be promoting their stuff in your group. It's your group. You can do what you like. You set the rules, but it is good to actually set the rules so you can develop a community of people that you want. So I'm just sort of thinking of Annie's sort of animal group that she's got, what she does with animals and animal parents. That is an ideal sort of place for a Facebook group. Probably already got one. And because what it does do is it positions you as an expert, and people will find you in these groups as well too. So
Nick, are you sharing your screen at the moment? Because we can't see it.
You can't see anything. What can you see?
Just
It's the gallery of all of us.
Okay. All right. Let me. Thanks for that, Ron. Let's just see if I can find where we're sharing. All right, my controls have just totally disappeared. Isn't that just lovely? All right, where have they gone? All right. Okay, let's see. Here we are. Right, let's try this again. Okay, this one here. Okay, is that better? Can you see Facebook group? Thank you.
Aha,
Yes,
that's
we
much
can.
better. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad you told me now, not at the end of the session. All right, so number one was Facebook groups. Second one are networking groups. So this is, and what I'm talking about here is not an online strategy, this is an offline strategy. So there are plenty of networking groups out there, things like BNI, BX, and there are a ton of people that actually run some networking groups. They are great people, great places for your lead generation, and possibly not the way that you expect. So often when people go to networking groups, I don't know what your experience is, but often I get business cards thrust into my hand, and there's this great sort of business card swap. Very little value, very little getting to know each other, but there is a business card swap. But if you position yourself well in a networking group, you ask questions, find out what other people do, what they're interested in, and what their challenges are in business. If you have some conversations like that, then sort of talking briefly about sort of how you are able to, or how you work with people on some of those challenges without getting into specifics at a networking group, then often you can take people out of that networking environment and have a chat with them sort of on Zoom or on a coffee catch up afterwards, because you've tweaked and piqued their interest in terms of what you do, but probably more importantly that you're able to solve an issue or a challenge that they've got in business. So networking groups, it has been difficult over the past couple of years to get out and do some of those, but things are, I think, at a place now where there are plenty of them that have opened up and are out there, and there are people that are just itching and dying to get out there because they've spent enough time behind screens and Zoom that they actually want to go out and meet real people. So using networking strategically as a way to generate leads in a non-salesy way, where you're really sort of building connections and relationships, that is a fabulous way of helping that. Now, the other thing too is if you are in networking groups, the other thing too is to, if possible, to step up into a role of leadership or assisting or helping or running it, which will take a bit more time. But what it does do is it positions you as the expert in the group or the go-to person in the group. So people will get to know you sort of a lot more quickly than if you are just someone that's sitting in the audience or just a standard networker. So if you ever get the opportunity to volunteer or to take a role in a networking group, definitely take the role. Certainly my experience has been that it will position you as an expert in it, and you'll start to get sort of referrals, and it will generate leads almost on its own, almost on autopilot. Anyone here is a member of any networking groups? So yep, there's a few of us here. Yeah. So again, that can be both online and offline. One of the networking groups that I'm a member of are launching over in the US. So I do spend, even though I'm not physically traveling over there, they've got an online version. So I do jump onto the online ones, and that's given me podcast opportunities overseas and introduced me to people over there that I've subsequently done business with. So it's been great for business as well too. Which leads me on to the next one, podcasts. Who here's got a podcast? Just gives you a hands up if you have a podcast. Okay, so some of us got a podcast. Who here doesn't have a podcast but is featured on other people's podcasts? Okay, and who here's got a podcast and is also featured on other people's podcasts as well? Yeah, sweet. Okay, so podcasts are a really easy lead generation tool, but they're a very good one as well too. And there's a number of reasons for that. If it's probably the easiest one is someone else's podcast. If you've got your own podcast, then you are positioning yourself as an expert on the podcast platforms, and there are quite a number. So you've got iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher. There's a heap of them out there. So, and the good thing about podcasts is that they have longevity. So So that sort of thing there, people will come and subscribe to them. They'll discover you, they'll subscribe to you. And, because you've got sort of episodes coming up on a regular basis and you want to have a number of episodes there and you want to be consistent and regular on it. So podcasts don't work if you're inconsistent. So you do need to set a schedule and you do need to be publishing on a regular basis. So whether that be, daily, like John Lee Dumas, or weekly, or monthly. I think sort of any longer than monthly is probably too long, but sort of having weekly or 2 weekly is probably around about a good sweet spot there. So you've got new content going up regularly. Podcasts don't have to be long. They can be 10 minutes. So I know someone's got a podcast for 10 minutes. It's just a quick tip or a case study or something. So very short ones. So for those short podcasts, they're often enough for, let's say, a parent dropping kids off at school to on the drive home again. 10 minutes is probably, what they've got on the drive home again. So that's a good length. And podcasts can go, right up to 40 minutes or 50 minutes or so as well too. And so, those for longer drives. Now, the reason why podcasts are good is that people will often listen to podcasts when they can't watch a video. So webinars are great, but podcasts they can listen to in the car. So who here listens to podcasts in the car? Yep. So for me, that's my university. There's nothing particularly stunning on the radio that I really want to listen to these days. And so podcasts are my radio. So there's a lot of people where the podcasts are their radio. They'll queue them up. And I know that I do. I'll queue them up. I'll have a list of podcasts so that when I go, I just sort of tap on it and away I go. And so being on the platform too is that they will continue to grow. So even though you published your, let's say an episode of your podcast last year, it'll still be there next year. And so people will discover it next year and often, so well into the future as well. So you want to be, but the key to that is to keep publishing on a regular basis. So if you set up a weekly podcast, keep publishing regular. You don't actually have to do it weekly. You can batch them. So you do it all on one day. So you might do 4 in a day and then you've got it scheduled out over the entire month. And then it just, schedules over that time. So you might only have to do sort of 12 sessions a year, once a month, or, you could probably do 8 in a day as well. I know someone that does 8 podcasts in a day with guests and then just publish that. That's 2 months worth of podcasting. So it doesn't have to take up a lot of sort of time over a prolonged period of time if you batch it like that. My favorite thing is jumping onto other people's podcasts. And what's good about that is that one, you get an endorsement from them implicitly. They mightn't sort of explicitly endorse what you're doing, but the fact that you're appearing on their podcast means that they're endorsing you implicitly to their audience. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there. They wouldn't have anyone there that was an idiot or that they didn't like or they didn't think resonated with, their audience or what they're looking for. And so for that there, you get exposed to a whole new audience that you may not have access to right now. And so if you make it a goal, for instance, so my goal for this year is to ensure that I'm on a podcast once a month, someone else's podcast once a month as a guest. And so I get in front of new audiences, once a month. And being in front of that new audience, again, being podcast and being that they do have longevity means that the episodes are still going to stick around for, the next 12 months or 24 months and longer. And so you will, people will still be listening to you. So you'll often get leads coming out of that months after when you were on that show. Some people sort of get a little bit nervous about the podcast, but look, it's really just a conversation. It's not a difficult thing. And a lot of the podcast hosts are really good. They'll ask questions and they'll take you through a conversation. And once you've done your first one, you'll be itching to get your second one and your third one and your fourth one in. But that one there would be one of my favorite lead generation tools, and it does generate leads. So as you can see, it does take work. You've got to take an hour out of your day or sort of 20 minutes out of your day to do it. Maybe do a bit of preparation. The key thing with your podcast too is always have some form of call to action at the end of it. So you'll be checking with the podcast host what that call to action is. It might be simply your social media profile where your call to action is. It could be your website, or it could be that you have some lead magnet or special offer there that you're able to give to people to download in exchange for their email address. So that's a preferable one, and that works really well if you're talking about a particular topic and then you've got a checklist or some document that supports what you're talking about that people can go and download. And so they'll pop their email address, and that's how you can build up your email addresses into your CRM. which, by the way, if you don't have a CRM, anyone guilty of not having a CRM? Hopefully everybody has got one. That is your most essential element in business, is your CRM. And that's where you collect email addresses and all of your leads as well. I'm going to talk to you about a strategy shortly too, where this is a strategy that guaranteed me every time I did this, it got me $20,000 to $30,000 worth of business every time, guaranteed. And that was because I had a CRM. Just on podcasts as well. If you have a look at the podcast platforms, you can find ones that really are in your topic area. There's a bit of an etiquette around it too. So don't just approach a podcaster and just ask to be on their podcast. It pays to have a listen to the podcast just to sort of see what it's about and to see whether you are a fit for that and whether it's a fit for your business. It's a waste of time going to a podcast that's not a fit for you. And also subscribe to it. And, if they do have their podcasts on their website, then go to the website and have a look at it. And if you can make some meaningful comments sort of on the way through, then do that as well. That's all part of the podcast host getting to know you. Podcast hosts and anyone on a website reads comments, and they read sort of emails if you send them to them, about the topic that they've either posted on or that they've recorded. So do take the time to do that, and that'll get you into that. Next one is a quiz funnel. So what is a quiz funnel? A quiz funnel is something like as simple as join our let's say like our page. If you like our page, you can get a point. Go and watch a video on YouTube, that may give you another point. So that's one style of quiz funnel where you're accumulating points in order to win a prize. So you've probably seen it in product launches. So some product launches have had things like iPads. They've been giving away iPads, or they've been giving away a version of their product. And what you've got to do is enter. There are a number of ways to enter. So some of those ways are to like a Facebook post or watch a video or sort of follow them on a YouTube channel or sort of connect with them on LinkedIn. So there are a number of ones there. So what you're doing is you're building your list there on your social media platforms. And one of the questions generally always is to subscribe to the newsletter, which is an acceptable place to have a newsletter subscription and a quiz funnel. They give their email address, and you've got their email address into your CRM. So quiz funnels are often quite good ways of getting interaction, particularly if you've got a good prize in there as well. So with the prizes, sometimes people tend to offer their product or service. That may not be what people want. So have a think about what people really want for a prize and offer that. One of the prizes that we offered was this is back in New Zealand. This is a trip to the Gold Coast. So that was our quiz quiz funnel that we had for the year. And in New Zealand in wintertime, people want to get out and they want to go where it's sunny. So a trip to the Gold Coast for all expenses trip was definitely a good prize. And look, it wasn't terribly expensive as well. It was airfares and accommodation for a week. I think it probably back then cost us a couple of grand all up. So it wasn't a particularly expensive thing, but it did get us, every time we ran that we would get around about 5,000 leads in off it. So it was well worth doing that. So that one is not entirely free, although it could be free depending on your prize. I know that a client of ours had gone to their product supplier. They had physical products, a bike, and they got a bike off them to offer as a quiz funnel. The deal with that was that people subscribed on the site, they get the opportunity to win a bike. These are all mad keen cyclists, and it was a cycling gear site. And also the supplier would also get all of the names that went into the quiz as well, because they're supplying the prize. So that was a collaborative venture between the person that had the website and had an e-commerce store and one of the suppliers who was able to put up the prize. And it was a fairly good prize. So he did quite well out of that quiz funnel as well, because the prize itself was quite a good one. He didn't have to pay for the prize. The price really was that the bike store got all of the leads as well too. All right, Substack newsletter. So Substack, who here has heard of Substack? No? Substack, let me see if I can just open it up. This is a very underutilized, untapped resource that is well worth knowing about. So let me just share my screen again, and I'll bring that up. Okay. Okay, mate. All right, so Substack. I have included these in our apps once before, but it's worth having a look at again. So what Substack is it's a website with they're all just newsletters. So people write newsletters on Substack, and how it's different to say writing a blog on your own website or having your own newsletter is that Substack actually has an audience of people that come here. So you will find people on Substack that that you wouldn't ordinarily get any other way. So it's a great way to grow your audience. And they have ranges of topics. So people often come along here, for instance, and they'll have a look at. They may be interested in, say, let's say climate. And so there's a whole section on there of newsletters all about climate. So you can see there's a ton of them here. Some of these are paid newsletters, so people pay for subscriptions to this. So this one here, the top one here is a $6 a month newsletter. Some of them are free. You've got others here, $10, $9.99, $15 a month. So generally these ones here, the more specific your topic, the better your reach in terms of generating leads out of this, and you can bring people out of Substack to your website as well. So you can include links inside your Substack newsletters that they can click through to, so maybe download something that's helpful, again, a checklist, a workbook, or to, maybe you're continuing some of the commentary on your website as well. Maybe you've got a video on your site. So you can actually use it to generate leads and then sort of direct them to whatever properties that you want to direct them to. So Substack is well worth it. Again, this is all about consistency, and these newsletters are like long blog posts that are quite specific and help to solve some quite specific issues. So and there's a few other newsletter ones around. So that's Substack. And again, you would carve out some time to do this. If you're publishing once a week, again, you could probably either carve out some time once a week, or you could batch it all. So you do four newsletters or 4 articles in a day. All right. So that's Substack newsletter. Can you see the list again that I've got with the, you can't? Are you still seeing my, okay, all right. Let me get out of that again. It's got some great technology here, but it just doesn't want to play ball well enough today. All right. All right, next one is Facebook challenge. Anyone done Facebook challenges before? Yep, so a few of us, great. So Facebook challenge is a great way of building a list. And a Facebook challenge is where you may have 5 days of content. Sometimes people will use them to then lead on to a program that they're selling or a product that they're selling. For others, it is purely just about lead generation and sort of solving some issues and problems. But Facebook challenges are a very good way. And quite simply put, what a Facebook challenge is that you might decide to post directly to Facebook in a Facebook Live, once a day for 5 days. And so it's on a particular topic, and you're giving them sort of various aspects on the profit. So I've one of the Facebook challenges that I ran was on how to hire a virtual assistant, and so that there dealt with sort of various different aspects of hiring a virtual assistant. At the end of that Facebook challenge, we had a program that we ran on a 6-week program on getting people from not having a virtual assistant to getting one that a virtual assistant, and one that are able to work well with and they're successful with. So the good thing about Facebook challenges too is that, one, if you run it in a group and people have to join your Facebook group, then you advertise it and market it outside of the group. and you'll find that you'll get more and more people coming to join your group. So you start to build up the number of people that are joining your Facebook group. So the problem about a Facebook group is that you can't collect email addresses. You know, once they join the group, that you don't have their email addresses. Facebook doesn't give you that. So in order to get around that, then you would ask a question. One of the qualification questions before people join the group, that if they'd like to have access to the Facebook challenge, or a document, that they give you their email address so you can send them out the itinerary or the schedule or whatever it is that you want to give them. So if you ask for an email address, then you've still got to manually grab that and put it into your CRM. Or there are a few tools out there, Chrome extensions, that you can use to capture those automatically, and it loads it into your CRM. So one of those tools that I use is one called Group Leads. So if you have a look for a Chrome extension called Group Leads, it is a paid extension. I think it's about, it's less than $100 a year, but it will automatically accept people into your Facebook group and collect their email address, shoot it through to your CRM, as long as they've answered all the questions. If they haven't answered them, it won't let them in. You can schedule it to send an email out, or a messenger out, direct message out, to say, look, you need to answer the questions for us to let you in, and give them the link again, and you'll find some will, some won't. But generally, the idea of lead generations is that you do want an email address, so you've got a way of being able to communicate with them outside of the Facebook environment. So Facebook challenges, they're good for your lead generation. Direct message conversation. Now, I'd have to say that probably someone like Con, who is on here today, is a master of this here, certainly a lot more than I am, and uses that for LinkedIn. Are you happy to just open up your mic there, Con, and just tell us how you do the direct message conversations?
Well, it's a bit like you said there before, Nick. It's about looking at someone's profile and seeing what they do, finding something in common, finding whether they've been old school tie, whether it's someone they know. So you might, maybe even you've read one of their posts, and it's about just saying, hi, just saw one of your posts. I really enjoyed what you wrote. I really like that type of content. I'm also moving into this space or looking to learn more. I love to connect. And that's all you're doing. You're not looking to sell. You just want to connect. You want to join. You want to be part of their network and just learn from them. And as then you talk about nurturing, you continue to nurture that relationship with various other interactions via direct messaging, and eventually move it on to an offline conversation.
Excellent. Sorry to put you on the spot, but thanks for that anyway.
Does that help?
Yeah, that's great. And I think I'd be right in also saying too, Con, that those direct messages also help if you're regularly posting on your social media platform. So yours is obviously LinkedIn.
I preface it by saying, if you're looking to connect with someone, comment and interact with their posts for about a week before you send the connection request, so they see you. You're visible. So when the connection request does come in that format, they'll remember you and say, "Yep, I remember this person. They wrote, or they liked, or they commented on my post." So you get that familiarity.
And what's the quality of connections you normally get?
In what respect, so Nick? You want in how many conversions?
Yeah, or the quality. Yeah, quality and conversions.
Yeah, look, very high, because I target what I want to target. So I use a lot of search criteria linked to target. And then when I target, I use this nurturing process. So, I probably, because I personalize every invitation request, every connection request, I'll probably get 100% connection request. I don't just send the connection with no message. Every invitation that comes from me for LinkedIn is personalized. Even I say, hey, I saw your Nik Smash Go session. I love what you talked about. Can we connect? So it's got to be something relevant.
Yeah, perfect. So, and so some of you may be thinking, well, this sounds like it takes a lot of time to do that because they're all so individualized or whatever, but quantity is not necessarily the objective for your lead generation. It may be for your list building, but it's not for your lead generation. Quality is often a lot better. So, if you've got a scattergun approach and you're just trying to connect with as many people as you can, you'll find you'll be spending a lot more time doing that there than having quite targeted connections with people and quite targeted conversations, which at the end of the day, more often than not, have a higher dollar value when it does get to the point of transaction as well too. So don't discount it if you think that it's a lot of work. Sometimes it's less work. It's just that it's more focused work. Does that make sense? Sweet. Okay. And so that works on, now I would also say with those direct message conversations, don't be that annoying person. There are lots of courses and things out there where there is direct message templates and all that sort of thing. They're good to some extent to start to generate probably your list and getting towards lead generation. But when you get the same message coming through from 15 different people because they've been to the same course, you can soon tell. So it's always good to be able to start to personalize it to yourself as well, so that it's just not another random request from someone that's sort of been on a course and found you. Be interviewed in media. Media is a great thing. It doesn't even have to be about your business. So just getting into newspaper, on TV, other people's blog posts is a fantastic way of profiling yourself. A friend of mine who is actually, she's been here before, Kate Engler. She's spoken on media before. She'll often tell you that you don't need to pitch your business. So it's not your business that people media are often looking for. They're looking for an interesting angle. So what was one that I had a look at? I got interviewed for a school. I had a bit of a dust up with our kids' school quite a while back, and they were looking for stories on people that have had a dust up with school. So I got in the paper for that there. So the great thing about that is that people came up to me and said, "Oh, I saw you in the Courier Mail." And so you will actually start to get some recognition out of that. And interestingly enough, you'll get business out of it as well too, in that people connect with you because of your values, not necessarily because of what you do and what you sell. So again, it's about, who you are. And I remember a story that Kate talked about was that she's been in a number of publications, really just talking about her being in business, and she's a woman in business. So that's really been the angle they've been looking at. And so she's had a full photo shoot. She's just talked about what it's like being in business, and those magazine articles have generated business for her. She runs a publicity course. They've generated business for her, people coming to register for her publicity course. So some of the best place, or probably the best place to try and find media to be interviewed in is SourceBottle. So sourcebottle.com.au, I think it is. But if you just search for SourceBottle, that's where journalists go to call out for people that I want to interview. And if you join up to it, you'll get an email in the morning, you get an email in the afternoon, and just scan through it and you'll find that there are a number of opportunities there. A lot of them you can cross off, they're not really related to you, but others are related to you, and it's worth responding to. Now, when you respond to the call outs, it's always good to have some bio or some topics that you can talk about saved on your computer somewhere, so you can come through and you can submit that, maybe just alter it or tailor it to their request, and send it through. And so even think about things, maybe it's where you live, maybe they're looking for where you live, maybe there's a story the other day, someone looking for people that have been have had their houses flooded. So, if you had your house flooded, it doesn't necessarily relate to your business, but they're looking to interview you on that. It doesn't matter what it is, that there's good enough, because, you'll probably talk about what you do in your business anyway, and people will find out a bit more about that anyway. So any opportunity you can get to be interviewed in media is a good opportunity. I have been interviewed, or I've been on TV having mashed potato thrown at me when I was busking at in a square or a city square. So it was just unusual. It was different. And we got on media. There's on the Gold Coast, there was a pizza delivery place, and it's a sole pizza place that's competing against Domino's and some of those bigger outfits. He was delivering pizzas on a canal on a hoverboard. So, this is one of those sort of surfboards that comes up out of the water. And so it was just quicker to deliver them across the canals on this board. So he got in there. In fact, he got over to the UK with that as well too. So you've got a quirky hobby as well, then that can help as well too. Be a guest newsletter writer. There are a ton of people out there that got newsletters and blogs as well. So I would say blogs and newsletters. Or even better, if you can get into a magazine as a columnist in a magazine, that's great. But if you can't get into be a columnist, certainly sort of someone's newsletter or their blog, being a guest on that is good. Reason why that's good is if it's a newsletter, an email newsletter, they'll be sending it out to their database through their CRM. And so you'll get to reach all of their, well, a lot of their clients on their database without actually having any other access to them in any other way. So think about people that are in non-competitive industries as you, but serve the same clients as you. So, if you've got a specialist field there, then even better, you can sort of talk about a particular specialty. I write on, I can write in business magazines. I just happen to write about digital marketing and in the digital space. So, but who's my audience? My audience are people that are in business. So look for opportunities to be able to write for someone else. Contest giveaway. Oh, that was a little bit like, that's a bit like the quiz funnel I was talking about before. Actually, the contest giveaway is more like sort of, giving away a prize. A quiz funnel can be something like a personality test. So you can have something on your website or on Facebook, which is like, what's my favorite coffee? I drink a lot of coffee. So what's your coffee personality? And so you might have 4 different questions there of someone's coffee personality. And at the end of it, they, in order to get their personality type, they've got to give their email address, and that generates leads. There was a really good one that we had, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, which was your superhero. What is your superhero avatar? And that was just a series of questions. It was a bit like a personality profile, and it was just a curious, interesting thing where people answer the questions, and they have to give their email address at the end of it to get their superhero profile. So again, it's a bit more interesting than just subscribing to a newsletter, and it is something that people will often share on social media too. So if you set it up in such a way that they can share it on social media and then encourage other people to come and find out, their superhero trait or coffee personality, or what animal am I? If I came back in another life, what animal would I be? Those sort of things there are a great way, because it's like a game, and people enjoy playing games particularly on social media. PDF lead magnet, probably don't need to go into that too much. They still work. So if you've got some sort of PDF document, whether it be a checklist, it could be a workbook, it could be a process, it could be a framework, a system, answers to people's most pressing challenge or problem, they go a long way. Now, one secret with your lead magnets as well too is to make your lead magnets very relevant to issues and questions and problems that people have. Now, I'm just going to show you a quick way to do that, to discover where people's issues and problems are. So my favorite research tool is Facebook. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick snapshot of something that I ran a workshop on about a month or so back again. So let's go and find a Facebook group. So what I'm doing is logging into Facebook, and I'm going to go and look for Facebook groups here. Okay, here's a group. This happens to be business owners smashing it online. And we're going to go and sort of see if we can...
We can't see anything, Nick.
Oh, I can't see anything? All right. Let's try that share again. This one here, there we go. All right, hopefully you can see that now. Just give me a thumbs up, you can see that? No?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So here's a Facebook group, and in Facebook groups, there is a search icon in the middle of the screen here. And if you click on that search icon, you can start to search questions that people are asking. So one of my favorite ones is just to search on, say, how. Now, what that will do is it'll bring up a list of posts there where people have that word how in it. So what we're doing is we're looking for questions. Okay, that's just popped up. That one's probably not such a good one at the moment because not too many so asking there. I'm going to search for another group here that I know has got lots of questions in it. So this is a business group.
This group is very active.
It is a very active group. Yep.
Very active.
So it's a good place to come and do some research in the business area. Here we go. There's 33,000 members in this group. And if we hit search, and we'll just search on the word how. And all right, so now it's going to bring up, what do we got? So how cool is this? It's not that. So what we're actually looking at, here we go, how to check if your site's been indexed by our search engines. Does anyone, this is a salesy post. Does anyone want to learn how to rank their website in Google? So we don't want that. How do you use smart lights around home? Okay, how do I get the message across about amazing and wonderful and unique and detailed and fabulous our product is? That is a question. The picture gets lost in the feed. So someone's asking a question here. So what you'll find is throughout something like this, there are lots and lots and lots of questions. So one of the things that I do in terms of research is to go through here, just collate some of the questions that are in an area that I can answer. And then I'll create a lead magnet answering these questions here. So I may or may not come back to this group and offer that in there, but I may come and offer that on Facebook or on social media and my website. Because, you know, this is just a small segment of people asking the same questions, but that's a really good way of, you know, sort of being quite specific about answering questions that people are actually asking. Now, when you do that, it means that the lead magnet that you've got is highly topical and it's more likely to get to be downloaded because it's answering questions that people are asking in these forums here. So use Facebook as a place to sort of find out what people are asking and the sort of questions that they're after. So I've got a whole program that talks about how to do all that in a process. I know some of you have been through that, but it's a really good way and you can get people to the point where they're paying you within 5 days to get that sort of information. So that's quite a quick lead generation exercise and really one that's used to validate your business idea so that you know it's going to work. If no one's going to buy it, no one's going to download it, it's obviously not a great angle, but if they do, then you know that you're on to a winner. All right. All right, so that's your PDF lead magnet mini course, same sort of thing. I'll tell you a story about Bunnings. I had to, at one stage, we had chickens running around our backyard and I had to build a fence. Look at my hands. There are no calluses on this. This is keyboard warrior's hands, not fencing person's hands. So I thought, well, you know, how hard can it be? I'm going to go and build a fence. It's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But my go-to place for information on how to do it was Bunnings, and it was Bunnings' website. So on Bunnings' website, they've got a ton of videos, how-to videos on how to do things, and specifically on how to put fence posts in and how to sort of build a fence. So I fenced our entire property off a Bunnings mini course on, you know, how to do it. So think about the topics that people want to do themselves that you could create a mini course out of that you could give away for free, or you could sell it as well. But, you know, if you give it away as a lead generator. So, and it might be a micro topic in what you've done. So for instance, here today, I asked Con about how to do direct message, you know, marketing of sort of, you know, in LinkedIn. That there could be a mini course. It could be, you know, how do you do that? So you could very easily create a mini course around that. So someone that really wanted to get more engagement out of LinkedIn and wanted to use it as a lead generation platform, you've given them something to do. So now obviously they give you their email address to sign up to the mini course, but you've given them something of incredible value that they can walk away and do something with. And you've also positioned yourself as authority in that area. So if they want to ask more questions about it, then you're the person they're going to go to because you've already told them about it. So those mini courses courses can be incredibly powerful. And as I say, give those away for free as a lead generator. You can always, and you can sell them as well. But I would suggest giving them away for free. Selling the implementation of it might be the way to do it if you have a business where you help people to implement things. So give them away your information. Tell them exactly how you do things. People will still get confused. They will still come to you anyway to do it. So the proportionate population will actually just go and follow it and do it. They'll probably talk to other people about it and say, go and check out these video series. So they'll become raving fans of yours anyway. So I love mini courses. All right. We're up to number 12. We'll race through some of the others. I'll give you this at the end of it as well too. If you want to have this entire list, just remind me at the end. I'll drop the link into chat for you to have it. YouTube channel, great place to build up all of our videos for business owners smashing online. They all go up into our YouTube channel. So for those that don't turn up and watch this, they can search it and see it. And we do get traffic from YouTube to this event as well too. So we get new people that don't know anything about us. They've Googled something on YouTube. So it might be how to market on TikTok. We've had a couple of TikTok people here, and so they've been able to go to the YouTube channel. There's a woman that I know in Brisbane. She is a town planner, very male-dominated industry. In fact, older male-dominated industry. She would walk into meetings, sort of collegial meetings there. She'd get ignored. She was a young woman, just get ignored. But what she ended up doing was she ended up answering her emails by video. So she had a camera set up or a phone set up in the corner. She would answer the emails by video. She'd post it up to YouTube, then send the person that emailed her a link to the video to say, look, it was quicker for me to answer this by video. Here's a link to it. And what she found was that a lot of the questions she was being asked the same questions over and over again. And so she built up a whole YouTube channel full of answers to it. What happened was sort of a year or more down the track was that she walked into these collegial meetings, and no longer was she being ignored. She was now the expert in the room of the place. So that can really build up your credibility and help with your lead generation. Host a meetup. This is a meetup. We used to host these in person at KDV and up in Brisbane. So again, positions you as the organizer of an event. That's a great way to bring people in to get to meet you, for you to showcase your expertise and what you do. And now it can be a physical meetup or it can be an online webinar meetup. Again, I think things are starting to open up now for physical meetups for those that are happy to host those. And you can get some venues for free, or sort of meet at local cafes, and some of those are free as well too, because you're obviously ordering food there. So hosting meetups is a good thing. Speaking at conferences. Best time to speak at a conference is when you don't know anything. Why? Because you get put into a position where you better know something pretty quickly, otherwise you're going to look pretty dumb up on stage. So I remember the first WordPress conference I spoke to, which was back in around about 2012. I put up my hand to speak at a conference. I was reasonably newish at WordPress. And I got accepted to speak, and they said, what are you going to speak about? And I thought, I've got no idea. Why don't I speak about security? So I spent the next week learning about WordPress security. That ended up being a program that I ran, but it also positioned me at that time, I think, in the front of 150 people as an expert in that area as well. So don't worry if you think you don't know enough. All you need to do is know just a wee bit more than some of the people at the conference. And in fact, I didn't even know a lot more than some of the people at the conference. Some of them knew a lot more than I did, but there's something about being up on stage which positions you as an expert. People seek you out at the end of it all to come and talk to you. So again, that's a great lead generation tool, particularly if it gets live streamed as well. Writing a compilation book. So a compilation book is where there are a number of contributors. So that works really well if you're writing with people that are working with similar clients, different aspect to it all, and so you're able to have you'll get a series of the books once they're published, but everybody else in the book will also have books to give out and sell. So you'll now have, if there's 12 people in the book there will be 12 other people that are going to be distributing your chapter to their client base. So, and you'll be doing the same to your client base as well too. Blogging, that is a really old, tried and true strategy, particularly if you're blogging with SEO in mind, which means doing exactly what we did to those lead magnets is going to something like Facebook or answerthepublic.com and finding out what questions people are actually asking and then answering those as blog posts or as articles. And so if you do that, and if you really spend the time doing the research, particularly using Google and Answer the Public, you'll find that your articles, it won't take too long to get you up onto page 1 in Google search because you're writing about some quite specific things. Answer questions in other people's social media groups. This is a fantastic strategy. I can't tell you the amount of business I've got out of doing just this here. And when I say answer it, what you'll often find is someone might ask a question, how do you do this? Or does anyone know a good web developer? Or does anyone know a life coach that does, such and such? And what you'll find is lots of messages from people that are saying, DM me, I can help, recommending other people. So don't do that. The strategy that I go with, if someone's asked a question that I can answer, and they might have asked for someone that can help them with it, answer the question step by step and quite specifically. So I've had some quite long answers in the post or in the comment back to them, so that they could go through and complete what it is that they're wanting to do. Now, I'm not doing that for the person that asked the question. I'm doing that for everybody else that's reading it. So you'll find there are other people in there that have got the same issue, problem, question, or whatever. And what you've done is you've demonstrated your credibility, one, that you know what you're doing. You've given the entire answer. You will get people that will come back to you and say, hey, look, love the answer. You sound like you know what you're doing. Can I hire you, or can you do this for me? So even though you've told them exactly how to do it, some people will still come back and say, I want someone to do it for me. So again, don't be afraid of giving out all of the answers in these social media posts, because it does position you as an expert. And if you do that often enough, you, particularly in the same group or a select number of groups, you'll very quickly establish your reputation. People get to know you. They'll find out who you are. They'll come to your website. They'll check you out on social media, and it is a really good lead generation tool. Here's another one. This one can cost a bit of money. This one here is enroll in events that your audience is also in. So I'm always looking for courses and events that I can enroll in to better my skills and to learn, further, about the digital space. What I find is that there's a program that I enrolled with. It cost me $15,000. That was a 12-month program. But and it was all on social media and using Facebook and Meetup. But inside that, where it was everybody else was learning about this as well too, they all had tech challenges. So people are there were people there that that were struggling with their website, others that were struggling with Google My Business, others that were struggling with Facebook, and these were all areas that I could help with. So even though I wasn't in there pitching what I do, people very quickly got to know what it was that I did do. And I think in one of those courses I was in, I generated about $70,000 or $80,000 worth of business from the other participants in the course, just because I was in that proximity. And so, I became the person that they used to ask questions of, how do I do this? And I was freely able to give out the information. And the person that was on the stage, the person whose course it was, kept on saying, go and see Nick. He knows how to do this. So she was recommending me from the stage as well too. So think about the courses you enroll in. $15,000 for that course to get $70,000 or $80,000 worth of revenue back at the end of the day was a really good return on investment. Wasn't my purpose for going in there, but it was a good return on investment for being there. Yeah, so don't just think about the courses just for your own learning. They can have other spin-offs. Create a podcast. So we talked about that before in terms of a guest podcast. Having your own one is a step up as well too. A one-line email. So again, this is great for generating leads. And this is the one I was talking to about, that every time I send out this particular email, it would generate $20,000 to $30,000 worth of business every time. guaranteed. And this is like cash in the bank business and reasonably immediate. So that email was, you want to know what that email was? Because you can use this one too. That email simply was this, and I sent it out to the entire database. The reason why I sent it out, these are the days when most business came in by phone, and I've done this recently as well to our database. When the phone stopped ringing or it started to get a bit quiet, I thought, hang on a sec, I need to start doing some marketing because the phone's not ringing sort of enough. I need to get that phone ringing again. Go to my database, send out an email. The email was something like, if the person's name happened to be Lisa, for instance, it was, hey, Lisa, haven't heard from you a while, just checking in, how are things going? Regards, Nick. That was it. Now, that used to generate me $20,000 to $30,000 worth of business. Why is that, do you think? Anyone got any clues as to why that might be? Yeah, Monica.
Because it's the emotion. You're hitting the emotion, the personal touch, and you sound genuinely concerned and you care. So you're touching base from that end.
Yep. That's exactly what it is too. It's like when people do business with you, it's not that they just want to buy something; they want a relationship often as well too. And so really, what it is just deepening that relationship. There was no sales pitch in it; was nothing like that. And what used to happen was I get a heap of responses back from people that were really pleased to hear from me because they've been to a webinar, seminar, they were clients, they weren't clients. We'd had some connection in the past, and it was like, hey, look. Yeah, no, all good here. Thanks. Appreciate your email, all that sort of thing. So you get those sort of responses. Get other people that used to email back and they'd say, it's funny you emailed me. I was just thinking about you. We were just thinking about sort of doing whatever it was they're doing. And we're thinking we must give you a call just to see how you can help me. So that just prompted that. The other thing too is that people would sometimes said, look, I was just talking to my neighbor about you or a friend or a colleague about you. How funny it was that you've just emailed because I was telling them that, that they need to get in touch with it or they need to follow this particular strategy, which we were talking about. So all it does is it's a memory jogger there. One, it's a genuine email that says, hey, how's things? How are you, sort of thing. If people ask how I am, I would just respond back, so look, life's great, life's bad, had COVID, whatever it was. And so you have that conversation. So it is about getting personal with your customers as well too. So, and you'll often see some people use those one-line emails often in a more businessy context. What is it? One of the famous ones is, are you still looking to, say, build a website, for a web developer? And so that's an email they'll throw. So those sort of ones work, but I just like the personal one really works really well. So that's a good lead generator. All right. Social media banner call to action. Put a call to action in your social media banner. It's the most seen thing when people arrive on your profile. Collaborate with non-competing businesses. So what you can do there is, some of my non-competing businesses are business coaches. Some of the business coaches don't deal in the digital realm. So I've given them a $500 voucher for a digital marketing strategy session, which they can give to their clients. So that's a voucher they can give out to their clients. And generally our uptake rate for getting those deemed is pretty high. And you can do the same with them as well too. So give out a voucher to some of your good clients for someone that needs their services. So that's a sort of where you're cross-pollinating. So you're not getting access to their database directly, but you're getting access to it by them giving a gift. Ask for referrals. How many people actively ask for referrals here? Okay, so a couple of us. Excellent. If you don't ask, you don't get. And it's amazing. If you ask for referrals, people will give you referrals. When's the best time to ask for referrals?
Straight after you completed a job.
Straight after you completed a job, absolutely. So as soon as you've done it, ask for the referral then. Don't wait for delivery, anything like that. Just ask for referrals, at the time when they've had the best experience, or you've just had that conversation. Affiliate program. Set up an affiliate program for your products and services. If you've got a service-based program, then you can afford to give away generally up to about 30% of, depending on what the fee, what you're charging, because you're probably going to be spending that in marketing anyway. If you've got costs and whatever associated with it that or more product based, then it might be around about a 10%. Loyalty rewards, Kogan, Flybys, Amazon, all got loyalty reward programs. Actually having a paid loyalty reward program is better than a free one sometimes. In that Amazon Prime, for instance, what does that cost? About $70 a year, I think it is. And I'm a member because I like to sort of watch, that's where I get my TV shows from and I read books from as well. But my first port of call when I'm buying something, I'm embarrassed to say sometimes it is Amazon because I get free shipping with Amazon Prime. So think about how a loyalty program might be able to work for you. And the last one seems like how does this work? But volunteer at a charity. So charities are, always looking for volunteers, whether that's staffing a sausage stand at Bunnings or whether it's, sort of doing something more sort of significant at a charity, volunteer there. Why? How does it help with your lead generation? Well, you get to talk to the people that are also volunteering there, all the other members there. You're not pitching or selling to them, but they get to know who you are. And just that process of getting to know who you are and what you do, business comes out of that there. So I'm a big supporter of, so volunteering for charities. One, for the sake of the charity, because, they're good charities, but two, it's great for business as well too. And that's why big business will often do it as well too. So there we have it. They are 27 ideas for generating leads. Any comments, questions, observations?
A lot of great ideas there, Nick. I suppose the only challenge I've come across, and maybe others too, for example, guest writing or getting yourself on a guest for something like that is getting yourself noticed and putting yourself in front of them. So they want to check out, so they'll say to you, okay, you want to be a guest writer, show us your blog.
Yep.
If you haven't blogged before, you can do it because you've written before, but you've got to show, so you've got to start blogging and say,
yeah,
I've done it before. So I like most of them. They're all great. It's a matter of getting your foot in that door to get that guest blog or that guest podcast or something similar.
Yeah. And that really comes down to, it's a bit like making money. Lots of get-rich-quick schemes out there, but there's not a lot of get-rich-quick schemes that have got longevity about them. So, you get rich quick and you lose it quick. So, but just like any investment, it's got a compounding effect over time. So, you initiate a strategy now. There's a process to go through to do it. So, let's say becoming a guest on someone's blog, on someone's podcast. There's a process to follow to go through it, and then once you do that and you keep doing that on a consistent basis, then you build on that. You get credibility that's and you become noticed. So you start to lift your profile, and then you can sort of work on another lead generation strategy, which might be contributing to someone's newsletter, for instance. And it might be the same newsletter. You might find some podcasters also have newsletters, so you get to contribute to them as a blogger and podcaster, as a newsletter contributor as well too. So I think one of the things that people that I get from people is that they're after the quick fix. There is no quick fix when it comes to lead generation. You start from somewhere, you can put the time in, you consistently keep building it, and it's part of your business process. It's not something you just bolt on because you need to generate leads. It's part of an integral part of your business process. Does that make sense? Sweet. Any other questions or comments or observations before we finish up for tonight? Irene.
Yes, thank you, Nick. It was great, the presentation. I just have a question regarding the, let's remember, 15, speak at the conference.
Yes.
Do you mean in person or virtual conference? Because of the COVID, that I didn't see many events going on, like big events in hotels like that. So how do you approach people to be speaking at their conference? How?
Yeah. So I like the in-person ones, like speaking in person, because you can get to hang out in the hallways and coffee chats and all that sort of around the conference. But yes, it's been a bit more challenging in recent times. But there are sort of a significant number of online conferences as well that are looking for speakers. And so if you Google sort of conferences in your specific area, like digital marketing conference or social media conference, you'll often find some there.
There's also summits, kind of the conferences, summits, but as you mentioned, the in-person, you have much more interaction. People can come and approach you. But because I'm in Harvey Bay here, nothing, this kind of thing doesn't happen here. When I was in Gold Coast, yes, but here, rarely.
Yeah, look, even if you have to travel, I would travel as well too. If you can travel to a different state or a different town. But yeah, physical conferences, and also look for industry conferences. Like there are industry associations that have conferences that are looking for speakers as well. So the good thing about those ones is some of those will pay you as well as putting you in front of the audience. So there are more in-person conferences starting to happen now. But yeah, good question. I like the in-person. Yeah, Monica.
Yeah, Irene, I was just going to say there, I think last week there was a multicultural Women's Day, Women in Business. And that was for women of all different cultures to come forward and talk about what they do. That's a regular thing. I think that's a yearly thing. And there's also International Women's Day. There's another thing, Mother's Day events. So any events that are coming up, check your calendar and think, how can I relate to that event?
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's lots of them. It's just really, so once you start Googling them and find them, then you see lots of them coming out. So, yeah. All right. Any other final questions?
No, thank you. It's been fantastic.
Excellent. All right. Well, I have dropped the link to the 27 ideas into chat. This here is just really to get your juices going, to get some ideas going. You need to have a strategy in behind all this as well too. So pick one or two, build it into your business process. Think about a strategy that you can implement with it as well, and run it through consistently over a period of months. That's where you're going to get the payoff. You won't get the payoff if you just go onto one person's podcast or you just try something once. It's about sort of building that consistency in it. So if you do want a hand with strategy, your strategy to implement some of this, just reach out. Happy to have a chat and help you with that. But otherwise, if you've got any questions about it, just drop your questions into Business Owners Smashing It Online, or drop me an email or a message. Happy to answer that as well too. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing some of you. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Business Owners Smashing It Online podcast. You can also find me on social media and online. Just search for Business Owners Smashing It Online and Nik Cree, spelled Nikree, all one word. If you like this and want to hear more, subscribe now. Until next time, don't be a slave to your business. Get your business working for you.